Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into a fascinating stack of sources. They're all focused on, well, how to take adversity, all that tough stuff, and not just get through it, but actually use it. We've got some curated wisdom here about character, about action, and about facing fear.
Yeah, the mission today, it's kind of like practical alchemy. We're taking the messy stuff, confusion, fear, obstacles, and trying to transform it, turn it into clear understanding and real directed action. It's really about proactively maintaining your own well-being.
Right, and the sources kick off with something non-negotiable. Your health, physical and mental, it's paramount. But almost immediately we're face to face with the biggest threat to that health. The sources bring up Gandhi, who points right at it. The enemy is fear. We think it is hate, but it is fear.
That's the core tension right there. If fear is the real root, then all the other stuff we see, the hate, the conflict, the avoidance, that's just symptoms, really. So to stay well in this kind of chaotic world, we have to treat the root cause. We have to figure out how to neutralize fear.
Okay, so let's unpack that. How do we face this invisible enemy? Our sources seem to lay out a path, like two main steps. First, getting a handle on why people can be so irrational, understanding that. And second, embracing this idea that problems are, well, figure-outable.
Exactly. It's a powerful combo, a psychological strategy for people and a sort of philosophical mindset for problems. And the starting point, maybe surprisingly, is learning to think like a writer.
Which brings us straight to Anton Chekhov and this idea of the writer's cure. Chekhov knew adversity intimately, didn't he? I mean, extreme poverty, an alcoholic father who was abusive, chronic illness. His life was just packed with it.
Packed is right. But instead of letting all that pain curdle into just, pure hate, he became a doctor. And he applied that same rigorous analytical thinking, not just to physical bodies, but to what he called the human animal. His writing wasn't just about telling stories. It was almost like medical observation, trying to understand what makes us so irrational, so unhappy, and so dangerous.
And he actually found that process therapeutic, for himself, getting inside these characters, even the really terrible ones, the brutes, the aggressors.
Yes, profoundly therapeutic. He saw it as a tool for his own survival, writing their internal thoughts, their messed up logic. It was like a cure for his own suffering from people like them.
So what was the key insight there? It wasn't just about feeling sorry for them.
No, not just pity. It was more like diagnosis. Chekhov figured out that every single aggressive person operates on an internal logic. It might seem totally distorted or crazy to us, but to them it makes perfect sense. They're always striving for something, some kind of fulfillment. They go about it in completely irrational ways.
So you diagnose the irrational logic driving them. That's the goal.
Precisely. Stepping back, imagining their story from the inside out. That's what the sources call empathetic alchemy. It's not passive sympathy. It's an active transformation, turning that hot emotion, your anger, your fear, into something cooler, more strategic.
You cuts them down to size, essentially. They stop being these huge, terrifying monsters.
Exactly. They stop making you feel pure hatred, which, remember, Gandhi said is often just fear in disguise. Instead, you might feel pity or maybe just achieve a kind of objective understanding. And this process, this understanding, it actually allowed Chekhov to forgive even his own father, which is remarkable.
Okay, so that's incredibly practical then. If you listening are dealing with a really difficult person, a boss, a relative, whatever, the tool is try to imagine their story from their point of view. Diagnose their logic. That act of empathetic alchemy shifts your response from pure emotion to, hopefully, clearer understanding, lets you act, not just react. All right, so we have a way to think about difficult people. Now let's pivot. What about the other big source of fear? Those huge, overwhelming problems that seem impossible to solve. Here we shift from Chekhov to, interestingly, wisdom found in parenting and curiosity.
Yeah, it's a really crucial shift because we're moving from the feel of people to the fear of the unknown. And the sources highlight this really lovely recurring pattern in the lives of many brilliant creative people. It's about their childhoods. As kids, they'd ask these huge questions. How does a car engine really work? What's Antarctica actually like?
And the key was how their parents responded. It wasn't, I'm busy, or go look it up. It was that amazing phrase, I don't know, but let's go figure it out together. So they go to the library, or take apart the toaster, or talk to the neighbor who knew about engines.
Right, and doing that over and over taught them, three fundamental things, deep lessons. One, their questions mattered. Their parents cared enough to explore with them. Two, curiosity wasn't just okay, it was the start of an adventure. And three, this is the big one, answers can be found. Problems aren't unsolvable mysteries. The knowledge is out there somewhere.
Which leads directly to this fantastic phrase from Marie Forleo, Everything is figure-outable. It tackles the unknown head-on, that place where fear just loves to breed. If you genuinely believe deep down that any problem can be understood, any ignorance overcome with effort, you basically shrink the territory of fear. You make the unknown familiar, or at least approachable.
It's incredibly empowering. And, this isn't just a modern self-help idea. It connects way back. It lines up perfectly with the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius. Remember his line, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way."
That's such a powerful line. But how does that work exactly? How does the obstacle become the way? What's the mechanism?
Well, if you truly buy into everything is figure-outable, then an obstacle isn't a dead end anymore. It's more like a diagnostic tool. It tells you what you don't know yet,
Yeah.
or what skill you haven't mastered. So if you hit a wall, whether it's a broken machine or, say, a negotiation that failed, the wall itself shows you what you need to learn next. It doesn't stop you. It redirects you towards the necessary learning. The obstacle is the curriculum.
That reframing just dissolves that paralysis, that fear of, what if I can't do this?
Which brings us neatly to the next part, the actual architecture of action. Because, okay, it's great to understand people like Chekhov did, and it's great to believe problems are figure-outable. But just thinking about it isn't enough, right? We have to actually do something, move from thought into motion.
Absolutely. Belief needs legs. Tony Dungy put it really simply. Faith, simply stated, is belief put into action. If you truly believe the problem can be figured out, that the answer exists somewhere, then the only logical next step is to start looking for it, to act.
But that search, it's often messy. It's not usually a straight line from A to B. What about when you hit that wall hard, when you've tried and you're exhausted and it feels overwhelming, that moment you just want to give up? Thomas Jefferson had something for that, didn't he? That gut check moment. When you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on. Yes. And that's not just about being stubborn. It's a survival tactic rooted in that figure-outable belief. If you genuinely believe the answer is out there, then tying a knot isn't giving up. It's pausing, regrouping, preparing to try a different approach. It circles back to that core reality check. Effort is non-negotiable. The source material is pretty blunt about this. Never be upset by the results you didn't get with the hard work you didn't do.
Oof, yeah, that hits home. It's the difference between just thinking about stuff and actually building stuff.
Okay.
Chekhov didn't just ponder his characters' motivations. He sat down and wrote the stories. Those kids didn't just wonder about engines. They got their hands dirty. They took them apart. There's real labor involved.
Mental and physical labor, yeah. And that labor, it needs a rhythm. Adam Robinson talks about this. He describes this necessary back and forth, like breathing in and breathing out. You need periods of solitude, introversion time to process, analyze why something failed, maybe rethink your diagnosis of that person or problem. And then you need periods of community, extroversion time to test your new ideas, use your skills, act out there in the world. Preparation informs action, action informs the next preparation. It's a cycle.
Okay, so that balance, solitude, and community seems really important, which leads us into our next section, because we don't usually face down fear or figure things out totally alone, do we? We need people. We need context.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali put it pretty starkly. If you haven't learned the meaning of friendship, you really haven't learned anything.
That really connects to this idea that unity is the way of grace in harmony. Community, friendship, that's where you get perspective, support, accountability. Those things are vital when fear is trying to shut you down. Isolation just makes fear louder. Unity, connection, it diffuses it, grounds you.
But when we are scared, we sometimes lash out, right? We express that fear badly, especially within our communities. Ambrose Bierce had that cutting warning. Speak when you are angry, and you will make the greatest speech you will ever regret.
Yeah, anger in this view is often just fear grabbing the steering wheel. And when we let it drive, when we speak from that place, we don't just hurt the relationship in the moment. We create this permanent, painful recording of ourselves at our worst. That angry outburst becomes a memory burned into place for us and for others.
That raises a really deep question then about our inner lives. What actually makes a memory stick? What determines what we remember? And the sources give us this incredibly potent key. The art of memory is attention.
This is huge. It has these twin implications. Basically, our entire character, the story we tell ourselves about ourselves, is built by what we choose to pay attention to. If your focus is always on the anger, the perceived slight, the hurt, you amplify those things. Those memories become the loudest voices in your head. But, and this is the crucial part, if you intentionally shift your attention, if you focus on the process, on the learning, on the empathetic diagnosis Chekhov did, on the figure-outable effort, that is what shapes your memories and ultimately your character. You're basically curating your own past by choosing where your attention goes now.
So we have an attention budget, and we have to spend it wisely. And the sources give a couple little nuggets of wisdom here. First, that elegant Spanish phrase, menos es más. Less is more. Focus that attention. Don't scatter it on every little fear, every annoyance. Be intentional.
Right. And then there's that wonderfully earthy bit of wisdom, a buen hambre no hay pan duro. Which means basically, to good hunger, there is no hard bread.
Oh.
If you cultivate a real, genuine hunger for growth, for understanding, for getting healthier, if you fully commit to that figure-outable process, you'll find a way to digest even the toughest lessons. The difficulty becomes almost irrelevant when the hunger, the need, is strong enough.
Okay, so let's quickly recap this whole cycle we've mapped out. It starts with facing fear, the real enemy. Chekhov gives us empathetic alchemy to turn that fear-driven hate into understanding. Then the everything is figure-outable principle turns overwhelming problems into learnable lessons. And making it all happen requires real effort, tying that knot, hanging on balanced with that rhythm of solo processing and community action.
Exactly. And the sources wrap up with a kind of earned promise, a dose of hope. And it comes from an unexpected place, pulling from modern fiction, which I love. It's a quote attributed to Meredith Grey. What's broken can be mended, what's hurt can be healed. And no matter how dark it gets, the sun is going to rise again.
That promise feels powerful because it suggests the struggle works. That rising sun isn't just wishful thinking. It's the outcome of doing the work, the empathy, the figuring things out, the persistent action, the mending, the healing. It's proof that things were figure-outable after all.
So as we wrap up today, let's circle back one last time to that master key. The art of memory is attention. If your life, your character, is ultimately defined by what you pay attention to. And Chekhov showed the power of focusing attention intently, even on human darkness, to understand it. What would he say about how you choose to use your attention right now today?
Yeah. If you're the architect of your own character, the curator of your own memories, how are you using your attention moment by moment to focus on the work, the learning, the empathy, to consciously design the person you want to be, the person you'll remember being tomorrow?